In this tutorial, we're gonna talk about the 500 internal server error. Basically, this is a general HTTP error and it doesn't mean anything. It just means that something went wrong. And in this tutorial, we're gonna see how we can potentially fix it in WordPress. I'm Andrew from WordConvert, and make sure to subscribe to our channel for more WordPress content if you haven't already. So let's take a look at the common causes of this error, and this error has a lot in common with other HTTP errors that we have talked about, so lots of these things would be similar. So let's talk about some common causes and potential fixes. The first potential cause of this error is a broken htaccess file, and it's really simple to fix it and create a new one. So I have to access my files using direct admin, and you can use whatever panel that your hosting company provides you. So I will bring file manager and public HTML, and you can see I have a .htaccess file here. This is the file we are talking about, and you can simply delete this file or change its name, and WordPress will create a new file for you. But if you want to be safe and you don't want to lose your old file, it's better that you do not delete this and you only change its name. So I will right click on it and change its name, and let's add a dash, for example. And now we do not have htaccess file, and even without htaccess file, your website should be running on most servers, and you can just check to see if that solves your problem. And if you have access to your WordPress website, then you can simply renew your permalinks, and that will create a new htaccess file for you. So if you have access to your WordPress admin panel, then just go ahead and bring your setting and permalinks and just click on save changes. You don't need to touch anything here, and it will go and create a new file for you. So if I just refresh this page, you can see now WordPress has created a fresh htaccess file for me. Super simple. If that doesn't solve your problem, then the next thing to check can be memory limit exhaustion. So maybe your WordPress is running out of memory, and this can especially happen if you have lots of plugins or some poorly coded plugins. So in this case, it's super easy. I bring my direct admin again, and this time we have to edit the wp config file. This is the file holding all of your configuration data, and you should be super careful editing this file. And just here, before it says that's all, stop editing, we have to add a new line of code, and I will put it in the description so you can just copy it. And we just have to click on save. But before we save it, it's important to know that we are only changing the memory dictated by WordPress, and your server might use a lower number, and in that case you have to reach your hosting company if that is a problem. And we check our website again, and it's important that whenever you change something, especially in the wp config file, you just check your website that you haven't broke something. If that doesn't solve your problem either, then the next thing to check is the file permissions, and they can be wrong sometimes. So back to direct admin again, and I will navigate to public HTML, and you can see every file and every folder has a permission associated to it. It's showing me this permission. If you're using another panel like cPanel, or maybe you're using a FTP client, it's essentially the same. Always you can see the permissions either in a column, or you can just right click on a file and then set the permissions and see the code. And every file has a permission, and every folder has a permission attached to it. The files should use 644 or 640, so either 644 or 640. And in this case, you can see all of our files are using 644, which is correct, and your folders should have either 744 or 755. In this case, you can see that my folders have 755, so they are correct. If anything is incorrect, then you can just change it. Again, the recommended value for files is just 644, and for folders it's 755. And you can just right click on a folder or file and then change the code here, and check the recursive for folders, so it will change all of the subfolders, and just click on save changes. The next thing that you can check and look at if you are still getting the same error is your plugins and of course your theme. And it's rarely the case that your theme is broken, but if you have lots of plugins, especially security plugins, then it might be due to them, and you can just turn off your plugins one by one and try to find that faulty plugin. You can either do it from your WordPress admin panel, and in case you do not have access to your admin panel, it's super easy to use a web interface like cPanel or Direct Admin. You can just open the WP content folder, and you can either change the plugins folder name to anything you want. You can just, for example, add a dash, then WordPress will go and disable all of your plugins, and you can check to see if that solves your problem. But if you don't want to just disable all of your plugins at once, you can just change the name for each plugin individually and check to see if that solves your problem. If that doesn't solve your problem either, you can do the same thing with your theme. Of course, you only have one activated theme, so you can just change its name and it's located in the WP content folder and themes. If that doesn't solve your problem, the next thing that you can look at is the WordPress files themselves. They might be corrupted, maybe something have changed them. And in the Direct Admin, we can see that WordPress has lots of files. So we have all of these files, and you can just download a fresh version of WordPress, remove WP content because we don't want to override this folder. This folder holds your data and plugins and media library, but you can just override all of the file except of course the WP content and one other file I forgot to mention, the WP config file, because this file holds your data for connecting to the database. So you can just navigate to wordpress.org/download, and you can just grab a fresh version of WordPress, but you should be super careful that you are downloading a new version so your website would be upgraded. This is the first thing to note. And the second thing is that I should have mentioned it before, and that is that you have to back up your files. You're modifying your files and you can just lose something forever. Even a simple mistake can make you lose your data or media library or database or anything. So it's super important that you back up your site before doing any changes. And you can just download it and remove the WP content folder and then put the files here. You don't need to remove the WP config because by default it has a sample extension, so it's WP config-sample.php, so you don't need to do anything for it. And if that doesn't solve your problem either, then you cannot do any general thing. The only thing that you can do is you reach your hosting company. You can just politely ask them to help you solving your problem. And that's it, everyone. I hope this helped you solve your problem. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And like always, you can reach our team from the link in the caption.